Well, guys, I want to welcome you. I want to thank you for coming all the way to Toronto to be with me, to spend the weekend with me, to learn more about pay-per-click and specifically more about pay-per-click Formula 2.0. For the guys last night who were in the bar, sorry I couldn't be there. Last night I had to attend to some personal matters, but we're all here now, and I should be here tonight. I apologize for the cold weather. It's not normal. Yeah, I know. It's not normally this cold at this time of year. Seriously, it was like 15 Celsius like last week, and all of a sudden I'm driving and the car says -5. I'm like, oh my God. And this is, I specifically did it at the end of March because I normally do these things in December, and everybody's like, why do you do it in like winter? It's like so cold, right? Especially the Americans who come down from the south, right? And I seriously contemplated, I seriously contemplated having this done in like San Diego or Florida, and things, you know, where it was nice and warm. And then I started looking at it, and I started going, okay, well, you know, I don't know if I have to get a worker's permit because I'm Canadian to do a session down there. I got to book a hotel. I got to fly down my assistant. I started thinking about it, and I said, well, screw that. I'll do it here. If they want to learn, they can come here. But in all retrospect, you know, I know for a lot of you guys, how many people are from out of Canada? Put up your hand. Okay, let me put it the other way around. How many people are from Canada? Okay, so majority of the people are outside of the country, so good luck getting out. No, you know, Canada is such a lax country. Honestly, you could get in with a bomb on your back, but going back into the States is a different story. Okay.
You mean I could have brought my mom? You only told me.
Well, dude, with your PHP skills, you can build one in your room, all right?
I'll build one that goes in through your browser.
Yeah. It was interesting because...
An exit form.
Oh, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Van Kloot from tooltrainer.com.
Thanks for the plug.
I'm just kidding.
What was that website again?
I think it's like scammytooltrainer.com. For those of you who don't know me, it's probably the first time you're meeting me. All of you are course members, so I shouldn't say you don't know me. This is probably the first time you're seeing me in person. This is probably the third seminar that I've now put on. Probably, in all retrospect, will probably be my last personal seminar because it's hard to come up with this good shit, man. Believe me. You know, it's interesting. If you look at what internet marketers are talking about, a lot of the predictions were that because of the recession, because of the depression, that there would be a fall in seminar attendance. So believe me, I was pleasantly surprised that this thing sold out. And you can see it's like a packed room of like 100 people here. So that lets me know that I'm doing something right, that I'm providing you guys with something valuable, some content, and some of the success stories of people coming up to me and saying, I just did 12 grand last month. That's like amazing. It's good to hear. But the one thing I want you to realize is that the decision is really up to you whether you want to take action or not. I mean, if you look at the internet marketing realm, most of the people will buy something, and generally the rule is about 80–90% of people won't do anything. But I know you guys are a little bit more assertive or will take action more, so I would probably say about 50% of the people in the room will do something with what I talk about, which is pretty sad. Because 1 out of every 2 people here will probably not do anything with the information that I tell them. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn to your neighbor on your right-hand side, and I want you to look at them, and I want you to repeat after me, okay? Now look at the neighbor on the right-hand side, okay? And on your right-hand side. If you have to talk to the back, all right? And I want you to repeat after me, okay? I want you to say, so sad, so sad. Okay. Now, I want you to face to your left now. Talk to the back if you have to talk to the back, all right? I want you to say, so sad, so sad. Okay. Now we know how sad it is. All right. At the end of the day, you guys are well aware of that we're in a recession. For my friends who are in the U.S., you guys are in a deeper recession. Now, put up your hands if you don't have a friend, and this doesn't have to be in internet marketing, who has not been affected by the or who has been affected by the recession. Put up your hand. Yeah, that's has been. That's everybody in the room. And I'm here to say that I've been doing internet marketing for 12 years now. Put up your hand if you've been doing internet marketing for more than 10 years. So it's just a few people. How many people in the last 5 years? How many people in the last 2 years? Okay, so this is a vast majority. Last week. Seriously?
You got a bunch of those here, though.
Last week? Yeah. Oh, wow. Good for you, man. You got a long learning curve ahead of you, but but good for you.
You're in the right place.
Yeah, you're in the right place. But really, I'm sorry if I make you feel seasick. I have to walk when I talk, right? But really, the decision is really up to you whether you want to take action or not on what I tell you. But I mean, the internet gives you control of your own destiny, guys. Don't leave it. I mean, I have my own opinions about corporate America and stuff like that. You know, I'm not going to share them, you know, the greedy bastards and stuff like that. But that's basically what I believe is if you don't control your own destiny, then your destiny is controlled by somebody else. And at the end of the day, I left my corporate job. If most of you don't know, I'm a professional accountant. That's my background. And you don't have to be a professional accountant to do tracking or anything like that. I don't want to. You don't have to do that. I just happen to excel at that, and that's why I probably did so well in this business. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's whose empire are you building?
Your own.
Seriously. Not if you're working for somebody else. You're not building your own empire. You're building somebody else's empire. And this is about you building your own empire. I mean, you look at, I mean, especially with the recession, you hear people who have worked for the same company for 20 years are getting laid off, they're losing their pensions. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with is it 401ks in the States? Yep. Or RRSPs in Canada. And it's funny because whenever investors call me for RRSPs, which is the same thing as your 401k savings, I tell the guy on the phone, I don't believe in those. Because, no, I don't. Because if you don't control what happens, I mean, for the Canadians here, you guys know what happened to Nortel. How many people had Nortel in their RRSP? 401k, I mean, who would have thought? Like some of these big companies like, what is it, AIG? Yeah. What was it, Citibank? That's actually had to file for bankruptcy. Who would have thought in a million years that that would happen? And I mean, you look at it, and this is starting to get like desperate times for a lot of people, especially if they don't control their own destiny. And I mean, you look at, you know, you hear it from your friends. I mean, all of you put up your hands. You said somebody's been affected. I mean, what are the kind of effects do these things have? I mean, people get desperate. Crime sometimes it goes up in certain circumstances where, you know, people start robbing banks because they're so desperate, stuff like that. Obviously, those guys don't know about PPC to CPA because they
Even better than robbing them.
Yeah. Robbing, no kidding. But the one thing that I want to get across for the next day and a half while you guys are with me is that I don't want this to be a seminar. I want this to be a large mastermind between a lot of like-minded individuals. Because you're going to find, just speaking with each other, and I know that a bunch of you met at the hotel last night, that you can learn a lot from a lot of people. I mean, I might be standing up here and I might be, you know, telling you about what I've kind of discovered on my journey through traffic brokering, but I'm just one brain. I mean, you guys are 100 different brains, and sometimes when you put that all together, you come up with some really, really, really funky ideas. So you definitely want to mastermind with each other. So with that in mind, the importance of masterminding, after the seminar, after the session tonight, don't go up to your room and watch Shopping Channel all night, okay? You're here to mastermind, sit with each other, understand each other, share some tips, share some understanding, and you guys are going to learn a lot, guaranteed. And this is one of the things that I stressed about in Pay-Per-Click Formula 1.0. It's one of the things I said in the forums were that find 3 other people. Find 3 other people in the course. You don't need a huge mastermind. You don't need, you know, 2 people. Just find like a 4 is a good group. So that, because the problem in this business is that if you don't have somebody holding you accountable for, you know, how things are doing or what you're doing in your traffic brokering business, you're not going to be as motivated to do it. So you definitely want to make sure that you're kind of in a mastermind where somebody's kind of holding you accountable, and maybe you can shoot some ideas off of somebody and they can kind of guide you or help you through. And by the way, this is a real statistic. It doesn't have to really do with internet marketing. But statistics indicate that the 5 people that you spend the most time with, your salary, or how much you make, will be the average of those 5 people. It's a true statistic. So your job for the rest of the seminar is to find the 5 richest guys in the room, or girls, and become their buddies. I'm dead broke, Charles. What are you talking about? The other importance of this session is there's a lot of smart guys in this room. Guys in this room who are a lot smarter than I am. Guys like Jonathan Van Kloot, right here. Matt Harward. Matt, where are you, buddy? Yeah. There's Matt. Yeah. Matt's a brilliant marketer. If any of you are interested in taking over the universe, Matt can help you do that. Yeah. And he'll even give you a choice whether you want to do it in PHP or Java. It's completely up to you. And then there's guys like Raj. He's been a huge inspiration as far as my traffic brokering journey. How many people know Raj from the forums? Put up your hand. Okay, good amount of people.
What's up?
I'm going to tell you about Raj. Okay, I'm going to tell you what Raj reminds me of. If you spent any time with Raj, you know when you're a young kid and you go to a gumball machine, right, or one of these machines or whatever, or you go to the variety store or whatever, right? You know those little bouncy balls you buy for like 25 cents, and you throw it against the wall and it goes bing, 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 and you can't catch it? That's Raj. Okay, when he's awake, when he's awake, 'cause he's like an energy ball. And it's really good because that energy rubs off on you. And it was funny because before my PPV seminar, I made a blog post on my blog that, for some reason I'm feeling tired and it's, lack of energy and stuff like that. So what did Raj do? He mails me a book called The Energy Addict, which, by the way, thank you. How many people have read The Energy Addict? Put up your hand. Because there's a couple of people here, a couple of people. Unfortunately, I haven't read it yet because I haven't had enough energy. So, it's sad.
That was the longest setup for a joke I've heard.
No, seriously, I haven't read it. I swear to God. Ask my wife. She's read it. I haven't. So far, the jokes are working pretty good, eh? Yeah. Tell that to my wife, because she doesn't think I'm a funny guy. And frickin' NBC went for Jimmy Fallon. Unbelievable. It was funny, about a week ago, not even a week ago, probably about 3-4 days ago, I hadn't even started preparing for this session. So I started realizing, man, I better start preparing, man. Because I started looking down the guest, or the list of attendees. And there's a lot of people who actually came outside of North America to be here. So I was like, I better get my crap into gear, right? There's guys I know from Scotland. This is Scotland, right here. Tony and the gang. And I started thinking, man, I've seen Braveheart 8 times. And those Scots can whoop ass. So I better have something ready for Tony and those guys. And then I started going down the list, and I know there's guys here from Australia. Who's here from Australia? Right there, 2 guys from Australia. But that's okay, because Australians, they're such nice guys. They're unbelievably nice guys. Every Australian that I've come across, that literally, I could come here and I could say there's nothing new. I got nothing to tell you. And they'd sit there and they'd say, that's okay, mate. We'll just drink all weekend. But it didn't take long to prepare because I basically know the material I'm going to be discussing with you, because you guys who are in the early bird for 2.0 have probably already seen that, me starting to build it and stuff like that. Obviously, I got my work cut out for me because I got to launch in about a week to finish that off. But I've started in the last couple of days, started putting more stuff, putting more techniques that I hadn't presented in Pay-Per-Click Formula 1.0. You guys run out of seats? Really? Is there any empty seats up here or around? There's one. Okay, put up your hand if there's an empty seat. Hi, Linda. So if you guys, like I said, this is going to be like a mastermind. So if you guys have any questions, there's a mic right there, right in the middle, that you can go to and ask. I have no issues with you asking me any questions while I'm presenting. Just don't ask things like, how do you FTP, or what, web host I should choose, or things like that. One of the biggest questions I get. Sorry, what was that? What's the web page? That seminar's in that room, buddy. Okay. One of the things I said is I'm not going to be covering Pay-Per-Click 1.0 in this seminar. You guys already know it. You guys already have it. It's kind of redundant to be talking about something that you guys already know about. One of the biggest questions I get is whether PPC to CPA is too saturated now, whether it's too competitive, whether you can still make money in this game. And I think for a lot of you guys who are, and I know a lot of you guys are making money, would readily agree that's not too saturated and there's still plenty of money to be made. One of the things that, how many people read the 89-page free report that I've launched for my pre-launch? So it was good. One of the things that I talked about is, and you guys are all going to agree with me, okay, that there's two challenges you have to making money in this entire game. Okay, it's the two T's I call. It's time and it's traffic. Okay? How many guys here are married? Put up your hand. Or girls are married. And how many of you guys leave up your hands if you got kids? Okay, so there goes 75% of your time. No, seriously. No, seriously, right there. There goes 75% of your time.
How many of you sleep?
What's that?
And how many of you ever sleep?
Well, yeah. I mean, how many of you guys ever sleep? I mean, the one thing that people don't realize is, and one of the biggest misconceptions about this entire business, I think you all agree with me, is this is not no magic pill. This is not something that's easy to do. So I want to get that misconception. That's one of the misconceptions that's coming out of the CPA business is that, you know, you just have to learn certain techniques and all of a sudden you're going to be doing 50 to 100 grand a day. Okay? The guys who are doing 50 to 100 grand to 200 grand a day are guys who have full teams. They got about 10 employees. They got dedicated ad servers that are serving these ads, and they got immense technology behind this. Okay? When I was in California in December, how many of you guys know Amish Shah? I've heard of Amish Shah in the Hexatrack fame. He's doing figures up there some days about 200, 250 grand a day. Okay? But when I saw him, and this is a single guy, he's not even married, doesn't even have kids, he was a walking zombie. He literally looked half dead. And I said, dude, you look like you're half dead. He goes, no, he agreed. He goes, man, it's crazy. He goes, it's really taken off in the last 3-4 months. I got a full team of like 10 people. I'm up 15, 16 hours a day. We're constantly monitoring because when you got 100 grand, 150 grand rolling in a day, it's very, very hard to sleep because you want to make sure everything's running, okay? So it's not some kind of fairy tale that you're going to sit there and you're going to be pedaling on the surfboard on the beach and stuff. Bing, 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 money's coming into your account. Unless you're Raj, right? Well, that bing, bing, bing is you bouncing off the walls, right? So,
Those are my thoughts.
but the reality is that there's guys making a huge amount of money in this business, and it's not simply from pay-per-click. Guys who tell you that they're doing 50, 100, 150 grand just from pay-per-click, chances are they're probably not just doing it from pay-per-click. They're probably doing it with Facebook applications. They're probably doing it with PPV traffic and a whole immense media buys. Media buys are huge, especially for guys in the CPA business on pushing traffic. And I think you guys all know that because all of you guys are course members. All of you guys, some of you have had the course for a long time, so you guys know. Now, the one thing is I created an agenda, but I don't usually follow agendas. I just kind of go with the flow and see how it goes. But that is kind of the framework of what I'm going to kind of follow as far as the seminar or the lecture is concerned. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions? Any shout-outs? Want to say anything?
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting that out in the first place.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Anybody here that pay-per-click Formula 1.0 changed your life?
Yes.
Anyone?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're doing something right, Gar. Keep it up.
Perfect. Okay, how about we talk about what has changed from pay-per-click 1.0 so you guys don't do it anymore? Because it's kind of redundant. I mean, the course has been out for, what is today?
2 years.
Yeah, it was 2 years today that I launched pay-per-click Formula 1.0. Awesome. Problem is, it's out of date now. So for you who started last week, don't read it, okay? No, I'm just kidding. About 70% of it is still relevant, but there is some key points that you guys have to understand that I've changed my strategies in the last probably year and a half. I don't do a lot of the things that I talked about in pay-per-click Formula 1.0. One of the things that's changed immensely is Google and the Google quality score. Everybody knows that because I think it was the time I did the first pay-per-click formula seminar, it was around that time that Google did their first Google slap, the first official Google slap, and I remember that because that's when they decided, well, you know what, we got to give our users a good user experience. And everybody was like, oh, this sucks, this is crap, and Google, they should just be taking my money, and everybody should be la-di-da, they should be happy, we should be happy, right? Kind of like the Yahoo mentality, But I have to give Google credit. Okay, I mean, no matter what they do, they're doing it for a good user experience. They have a long-term objective. Do you see what I'm saying? They have a long-term objective, and it was hard for me to understand that until they started forcing me to do things that I'll share with you that I had to do. Because by forcing me to give a good user experience to their customer base, it forced me literally to become a better natural SEO guy. A natural SEO guy. Because what you're going to notice is that, and I can guarantee this is going to happen in about a year or two, that the results that appear on the natural search side and the results that appear on the paid results, when you click on either link, you should have the exact same experience. You shouldn't have to click on the right-hand side on a sponsored link and all of a sudden be bombarded with the Las Vegas of all banners and, bing, 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 and this and that and this and that. And click on the right-hand side and get, the nice corporate website and, the good user experience. That's what Google is aiming for. They want to have it so you can't see the difference between the two. And most of you guys know that because what happened was, I mean, when the Google Slap came out, then PPC Riches came out, which was a tool that ideally got around that initially. But the problem with any tool is that it leaves footprints, especially when a lot of people start using it, okay? And when it leaves footprints, Google's not stupid. They're pretty quick to catch up on that. And then it used to work, and I don't know if it's working at all for anybody. I think it's dead technology now. And for my personal preference, I mean, it might sound kind of weird, but I build all my sites manually by hand, okay? I will either do it by hand or I'll get my assistant to do it and build it by hand because out of all the websites that I've created, dozens of websites I've created manually, none of them have ever been slapped except one website. And I know that one website was slapped because of human intervention. There was a human review done on that website. I can guarantee there was a human review done on that website. And that's the only reason why. The problem with the human review aspect of Google or Yahoo or MSN is that there's always going to be inconsistencies, okay? Because Google hires people in Vietnam and Brazil and stuff like that to be Google reviewers. To go in, click on paid listings to make sure that they're giving a good user experience. And I don't know what the exact criteria they follow, but I can guarantee you that if you go to the criteria that talks about creating a good website for the natural SEO, that's the criteria they follow when they're going to go look at the paid listings, okay? So as long as you guys are willing to do that, how many people were in the first 50 purchasers of pay-per-click Formula 1.0? Okay, so one of the things, Dan, that I shared was the black hat method on Google. That still works. That I'll share with all of you, but you use it at your own risk, okay? I'm letting you all know, okay? Because that's one of the ways that, when you're pushed into a corner, sometimes you do things that you got to do, okay? Google's caught me once. They've said to me, don't do it again. That was 4 years ago. I've been doing it since then. And I'll tell you how to do it in such a manner that Google wouldn't even care anyways, okay?
One thing I want to throw out there, maybe you could elaborate for some of the people that are new, is that Google's got it figured out on this user experience.
Hold on one second, Dan. Jonathan, no, it's a wireless, so just grab it and let's pass it. That way I can get you in the feed.
Okay.
Perfect. Anybody else, if you want to talk on the mic, just pass it, but just no singing.
Now I'm going to be famous, so do I have to sign a disclosure or something? Just kidding. Anyway, what I wanted to say was that Google's got it figured out. They're in it for the long haul.
And the one thing about this business, I don't know if it's working. It just died.
Just die.
The one thing about this business is that everything's so micro. I mean, you get to where you're actually watching your traffic on an hourly, even minute-by-minute basis. It's hard to look long-term. And I think anybody who hasn't gone full-time and they're entertaining this business, you got to look at it long-term. Like, I'm going to be in this for several years. And you almost have to remind yourself on a daily basis that I'm in this long-term. And so you have to start doing things with a long-term perspective, and that means not abusing people's traffic. And even these pay-per-view companies are not allowing people to...
What's that? Oh, okay. So even these pay-per-view traffic sources, which Goer probably won't talk about much, aren't allowing people to abuse their traffic anymore. And because they're looking at it long-term, if you start popping ugly things and upsetting their traffic's going to go away. So everybody wants to look at this long term. I think as an affiliate, we need to look at things long term too. Start building out sites that don't have just crappy boilerplate template headers. Make a little bit nicer sites that can last for several months and maybe pass a human review. And so that's just something I did want to throw out there, is that we got to start thinking more long term and direct linking, and you can make lots of money fast, but then what? Are you just trying to pay off your credit cards and then go take a vacation? And then what, And so I think in this business, it really is a viable business. I've gone full time. I've talked to several people here. Look at it long term, and then what kind of value can you provide with the talents and the experiences that you have in this business? So.
Yeah. Can I just add to that too?
Sure.
Yeah. Dan and I have been. Oh.
Top to bottom, I guess.
I think it's on. Okay.
There we go.
I just wanted to add, I've known Dan for about a year. We've been masterminding constantly, and this is the first day we're meeting, so that's pretty exciting. We've talked extensively about this, and I've noticed this because I've been doing this for about 2 years, that if you just take a little technique that works just to get past like a little obstacle, then you're gonna have to keep doing it over and over again. And just to add to what Dan is saying, what I've found, and I think what Google has figured out too, is you give people exactly what they want, and you give it to them in a way that has like integrity and a good user experience, you'll get all the traffic in the world. All the marketers I know that really understand that principle, and they're not just using like a little technique to get traffic. These are guys that, these are people I know that make $50, $100 million a year. This is what very successful companies do. So I think that just taking like our knowledge of business strategy and just understanding how to add value, and then plugging that into what Gawher's teaching, you'll make millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure of that.
Dan, do you mind if I just say a few words about you? Most people don't know about Dan, but Dan is one of the guys who posted a phenomenal story, a success story in the pay-per-click formula forums. And his is the only testimonial where I got emails from people saying, there's some guy posting a bogus testimonial. Because it sounded so unreal. Because Dan, you have what? You had a full-time real estate job?
No, I was a senior vice president in a corporation.
So you had an executive level position?
3 kids.
3 kids.
1 autistic.
One of which is autistic. And I think what? Within 2-3 months, you were doing close to like $100,000 a month?
I got to $6K a day within just like 3-4 months.
$6K a day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I owe you a testimonial too.
$6K a day?
Yeah, $6,300 on Christmas Day.
Okay, wow.
$6K a month then.
No, $6,300.
Oh, 6K, not 6 figures. Sorry.
You know what? I was thinking 6 figures. That's why I was like,
Oh yeah, yeah. No.
you get up here, I'll sit over there. Okay. No. Okay, awesome, awesome. So here's a prime example of a guy who had a wife, 3 kids, a full-time executive job. You're almost identical to my position. And I'm sure you went through the same thing where you're sitting at a financial meeting and you're saying, what the hell am I doing here? Because I remember I used to sit in the corporate boardroom at 1 o'clock, and we're doing a financial statement review and stuff like that because I was the assistant controller and I was responsible for all the statements. And nobody's looking, you quickly log into your CPA network. And don't tell me you haven't done that if you have a job at work and stuff like that, right? Okay. In retrospect, it's kind of fun. The good thing about being an executive, you could be on the computer doing CPA all day and get all your other people to do all the work. But it was funny because I used to sit there and I used to log into my CPA accounts, and at 1 p.m. it'd be like, $2,000 in CPA ringtone offers, right? And I'd be sitting there going, what the hell am I doing here? I have no reason to be here. But it was until I got into that comfort zone. I think you went through the same thing, Dan. I mean, I've had, people call me and say, okay, when should I quit my job? And I'm like, well, how much money you got banked? How much money are you doing? Because you don't want to be too rash about some of the decisions you make because business is so unpredictable. It really is unpredictable. It's a shady business. It's a dirty business. We all know that. We've been into this long enough. There's scrubbing. There's shaving. There's everything that you could conceivably think of. But Dan's one of the many inspirational stories about here's a guy who was doing it full time, who was working full time, had kids. So there's no excuses. And I think back about it. When I started online back 12 years ago, there was no such thing as Google. There was no such thing as pay-per-click. There's no such thing as autoresponders. It was a much different world. And I literally mean this when I say that if you come on to internet marketing online today, I feel bad initially because there's so much garbage and information overload. You don't know where to go. Okay, so that's the bad thing. But on the other hand, believe it or not, if you do enough research on the internet, you got all the tools to start making $1 million a month. Or sorry, a year. You could do it a month, yeah, you could, if you have a team and stuff like that. But literally all the tools are out there. It's how bad that you want it. So speaking about that, and speaking about what Raj and Dan said about giving a good user experience, you need to build better silo-structured websites, okay? If you guys read the free report, one of the things I mentioned in the free report was that when I was doing my sub-ID tracking, I could not figure out why I was making a crap load of money off the homepage. Because I don't buy traffic and I don't send it to the homepage. I simply build the silo sites to satisfy Google, so they're like, oh, la-di-da, all happy. And then I use LPGen or create my own landing pages, and I drive the traffic to the landing pages, linking back to the homepage somewhere at the bottom with a dot or something, so that the bot follows through and everything like that, and everything's la-di-da. You get great quality scores right across the board. I haven't had a problem with that. So I'm looking at my tracking, and I can't figure for the life of me why the homepage is showing 250 leads, 300 leads, and I couldn't figure it out until I went out and I got Site Counter. You know the Site Counter or Stat Counter, that free tool that you can monitor your stats. Downloaded it, stuck it up on the homepage. Where's the traffic coming from? Lo and behold, all the traffic coming to the homepage was coming from Yahoo, and it was coming from MSN. And Stat Counter also lets you know what the keyword is.
This is organic you're talking.
This is organic. This is pure organic traffic. And if you read my report, just on one offer, I think I did like $800 in 1 month. Or was it 2-month period? But the point, yeah, 2-month period. But the point is, I was off of free traffic. I didn't do anything. And I literally went into Yahoo and MSN, and I typed the keywords, and lo and behold, there's my silo site right there. And this is a homepage. You guys saw the Rachel Ray example that I created, right? It's not like a blatant landing page. These are small 125 by 125 banner in the top left, and then 300 by 250 creative at the bottom. So I'm not even hitting the person or anything like that, right? And one of the tools I'm going to get into is Traffic Regenerator. How many people are using Traffic Regenerator? I even stuck that on my free page, or the home page, and I started generating leads off of that. Okay? So one of the things I want to stress about Pay-Per-Click Formula 2.0 is the things that I'm going to talk about, and there's no way I'm going to be able to possibly cover everything in Pay-Per-Click 2.0 over the next couple of days. So what I've picked out to discuss with you over the next couple of days is basically the pillar, or the pillars of the 2.0, and kind of the route that I'm going, where I can see that most of you can make the most amount of money from this. Some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about this weekend is stuff that nobody is talking about in any other pay-per-click course, guaranteed. I can guarantee you that. With that being said, Pay-Per-Click Formula 2.0 and the Pay-Per-Click Formula course is not for newbies. I'm being honest here. And you're going to see that next week, or when I launch, is that I'm going to be weeding out the newbies. I don't want newbies. I don't have time there to teach how to create a web page or FTP or W. We're all beyond that now, okay? We should all be beyond that, okay? We need to, or you need to start thinking about growing your business and creating. One of the things I was talking about, one of the constraints was time, okay? Once you get past the time issue, it's all about traffic. That's all it's about, okay? Somebody said something very interesting to me. I was speaking with a super affiliate, and he stunned me. He started in CPA marketing about 6 months ago, and his best month was $5 million. $5 million, okay? And he said something to me that made absolute sense, and it really, really, really hit home. He was telling me about what he was doing and how he was buying traffic and his whole mentality when it came to buying traffic. And this is something I want you guys to really, really understand, because once you can understand this, then it's just a matter of doing it. He said to me, you know how I found it fairly easy because it dawned on me that once you start generating leads on the CPA network, pretty soon you determine what your EPC is, right? Make sense? It could be $1, it could be 10 cents, it could be 25 cents. He said to me, for a particular offer that's doing extremely well, if I know that the EPC is 50 cents, I want 100% ROI or 50% gross margin. That means I got to pay 25 cents. So for every 25 cents, I make 50 cents. He said, now it's just up to me to go out on the internet and find as many 25-cent clicks as possible. Does that make sense? And as long as it's the same targeted, consistent traffic, every 25 cents you spend should bring you back 50 cents. That's the way it is. And it really hit me home, because it's just go out there and find out where you can get that. It doesn't have to be Google, Yahoo, MSN, there's a world of traffic out there, outside of pay-per-click, that if you can find out where those 25-cent clicks are, you're going to keep getting that 50 cents coming in and in and in and in and in. AdWords split formula. That's the split formula that I talked about in Google AdWords. That to me is dead. I don't use it anymore. I haven't used it for about a year. It worked okay 2 years ago when Google's quality score wasn't as rigid. But because of the way the quality score has changed, you got to really skinny up your ad groups. Everybody knows that. You're not throwing in 50, 60 keywords like we were 2 years ago. You're really skinning it up down to 10, 15 keywords and possibly even one keyword in order to satisfy Google. And I highly recommend that you only have one keyword in your ad group when you're doing trademark bidding, which I'll talk about when I go through this. By the way, Yahoo now does allow direct linking. For some reason, Commission Junction managed to pull their arm, and they've dropped that. You can now direct link on Yahoo. You don't have to create the little bridge page and the little creative and this stuff and that stuff or whatever, right? This is also interesting, because one of the things, if you remember from the Yahoo book in Pay-Per-Click Formula 1.0, in their terms and conditions, you remember how I wrote about that they said that you're not allowed to advertise anything that collects personal information, which pretty much eliminates any kind of lead generating thing. And I had a call with my Yahoo rep. I go, that's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because it does lead generation. It doesn't even have to be CPA. And the guy on the other phone was like, duh, yeah, that's a pretty good point, yeah. Okay. And, but by the way, I've gone through Yahoo's terms and conditions. I don't see that there anymore. I don't see it there anymore. So although it might seem like they might crack down on emails and zip submits, it's not in their terms and conditions. And I've been running for the last 3-4 year email and zip submits on Yahoo like crazy, because Yahoo still has an immense amount of quality traffic. So keep that in mind. So Yahoo's, I guess when you're desperate, right? I mean, everyone knows Yahoo going downhill, right? So they're trying to bring the money in.
Oh, yeah, do you want to tell everybody to turn off their cell phone?
If they want. One of the other things I talked about 2 years ago was looksmart.com. And when I was experimenting with looksmart.com 2 years ago, it was amazing. It was great. You got good quality traffic. And then it was interesting, like about a month after I released Pay-Per-Click Formula 1.0, everything went just crapped out. I couldn't figure out why. You had the same experience, Dan?
They still owe me money.
They still owe you money?
Yeah, seriously, a month after your course went out, it went total crap.
It just went total crap.
away.
I couldn't figure it out, because I used to throw in those MySpace zip email submits, bid 1 penny, 2 penny on Looksmart, and boom, the traffic would come flying in, and I'd get all these leads coming in. Everything was great. Everything was la-di-da. Almost everything. When I first took when the first Google slap came, I got hit hard. I lost $80,000 overnight, annualized. But I managed to get it back in 6 days just from looksmart.com. So that's why I raved about it in Pay-Per-Click Formula 1.0, but then everything just went to the crapper after that, right? But it was interesting, because some campaigns that I had running on Looksmart, I've still been running successfully since 2 years ago. So it's almost like it depends on what industry you're advertising in, right? So what I did was I called Looksmart up, and I said, okay, what gives, man? Your traffic's crap, man. I'm paying and your traffic's crap. He goes, okay. One of the first things he'll say to you, which is really, really funny, okay, we're going to put you on the high quality traffic. No, I swear to God. Did any of you guys get that conversation with Looksmart? Did you hear that? I know I'm not the only one. I go, that might be a good idea, considering I'm paying for the traffic. So they put me on strictly the high quality traffic. Okay, back then it made a little bit of difference. But the problem with Looksmart is that they're bringing on new partners, they're dropping partners every single time, okay? So I called the guy up at Looksmart and I said, I mean, what's the deal here or whatever, right? So he gave me some tips on how to improve the traffic on Looksmart by doing certain things that I'll talk about when I get into Pay-Per-Click Formula 2.0. Because now I have about 2 or 3 successful campaigns on Looksmart. It is possible. I wouldn't go crazy on Looksmart and start bidding 30 cents. I would just do like the 3-4 cent bids, see the trickles of traffic coming in, get a measure, and then see. Because Looksmart still has a lot of traffic. Ask.com, I've completely given hope up. They're just hopeless. I've only ever gotten one campaign to run successfully on Ask.com. Otherwise, it's just a flood of, I guess, fraudulent traffic. One of the saddest things in my pay-per-click history is the demise of GoClick.com, now defunct. I know some of you might have hated GoClick. I loved GoClick because if you ever did the Alexa technique on GoClick, woo, it worked really, really well. And they were 1-cent bids. My vision is like, so you're just going to have to say it.
You're moving too much.
Am I? I'm sorry, you're getting too seasick? Okay. I'll try to remember that. GoClick was bought out by AdHere. So now they're AdHere. And I don't know if any of you are successfully running traffic on AdHere. Anybody? Nobody, eh?
Hey, can I throw something out since you
Sure.
talked about EPC?
Grab the mic, Dan.
Hello. Hey, sorry, I don't mean to be, I hope to not be that guy everybody hates after a while, but it just, after doing this full time for like 6 months, it just dawned on me, something you talked about even in, I think in the first course, and I think you made it as simple as saying, hey, if I can figure out how to make, turn a penny into 2 pennies, and then you can scale it, or even a nickel into a dime. Because really, at the end of the day, and it has to be true EPC, be careful of what you see EPC in your affiliate accounts, because you're paying for clicks over here. It doesn't matter what they tell you they are seeing, because they often filter that. So they'll show you, like primary ads, for example, the EPCs in there are usually twice what they should be, because I don't know why, but if you go by primary ads, you're killing it. But if you go look at your traffic source and compare, it's not the same. But anyway, if you look at everything on a true EPC level, that's really, you're turning a penny into 2 pennies. And really, after a while, you don't even care what the offers are anymore, or the networks, because it's like, okay, I'm going to try to find, like you said, everywhere on the planet I can get 25-cent clicks if I'm going to make 50. And so I've got gals actually that are traffic managers that were stay-at-home moms, and this is the formula. We calculate EPCs on a monthly basis. We have historical EPCs. We even calculate EPCs on a weekly and 3-day basis just to compare to see if anything's going out of whack. And then they have a max bid EPC, which is 0.666 times our EPC, because we want to get a minimum 50% margin on our traffic. So it's all about the EPC, and it's true EPC. And if you can kind of get that figured out, again, if I'm making 3 cents, if I can find penny-and-a-half clicks, I'm doubling my money. And that's, it really, after a while, you don't even care what the offers are anymore. I mean, it's still fun to look at, date.com or FTDs converting or that kind of thing, or I just saved, $1,000 a month or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's all about the EPCs. And, again, you still need to worry about providing value and stuff, but on the micro side of things, it's all about the EPC and keeping a good hold, because that EPC might be historical for, like, for example, a campaign might be 14 cents EPC, but the last week or last month it might be 6 or 7 cents. So you always gotta keep your eye on the gauges, because I mean, just overnight something can change, and then you have to find out whether it's your traffic or if it's offer or whatever. So anyway, you can't focus on that too highly, I think.
And is it a change or a hiccup? It
Yeah.
can just be a momentary blip for one day and that's it.
But yeah, once you get a handle on EPC and calculating that and just staying focused on that all the time, I think that's really when you get a handle on your business. You can keep it under control. Again, these guys that are doing $250,000 a month or a day or whatever, if their EPCs go down by a couple pennies, that can be tens of thousands of dollars. And sometimes that can be the difference between profitability and, Google and some of these traffic companies are my biggest charities sometimes, because, if I spend $1 and make 50 cents, they're just a charity. And there's lots of better charities out there. So keep an eye on your EPCs.
Yeah, I just want to add something really quick to that. We're just going to keep doing this back and forth. I kind of use similar metrics as Dan does. I mean, I really look at the EPC, and I pretty much know the EPC at any point in time of all my campaigns, and I know my average CPC, because that's the whole game. But one other metric I've been adding to my business lately is my long-term EPC. I've had a couple campaigns going for 2 years that have basically been paying for my life. So I know those EPCs, obviously. But the thing is, I think that you can use any offer, and you can rotate offers and use different tools to test different offers. I've found that the one thing that determines my long-term EPC, like, is this going to be earning me money for years? Because that's the game I'm in, is the quality of the offer and the quality of the traffic. So, like, by promoting an offer that you would share with your mom, You know, something that's actually really good, like a lead gen offer or an offer that solves a problem, because that's what people buy. People buy solutions to problems, rather than some offer that doesn't show the price. And we're seeing all these offers out there, and you know, some of them are very scammy. And some people will make money for a month. If that's the game that you're in, that's okay. But I'm trying to make money for many years. So I find that by focusing on offers that really provide value, you'll be able to keep that EPC going for the long run.
Thanks, guys. Dan, you brought up some good points about you know, looking at your EPCs. I think all of us as pay-per-click marketers or any type of marketer, you definitely have to look at your EPCs. I do not care about what EPC the network tells me because it's a bogus EPC number anyways. There's email traffic, there's text traffic, there's PPV traffic, there's PPC traffic, there's all sorts of traffic that are screwing around with that EPC. So the EPC on the network doesn't mean jack. Plus networks also jack up EPC to get you to run their offers. Oh, our EPC is 27 cents, you know, Copiax is only 20 cents, run with us. Okay, whatever, right? Because you'll see a huge discrepancy between the traffic you buy versus some of the traffic that's showing up on the network, and you're wondering, whoa, something's not right here.
Goer, mention that out of the gate thing too, where they kind of pull back the. Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Mention that to people because
Yeah,
haven't seen that.
that's a good point, Dan. For many of you who've already been doing this for a while, one of the things you might have noticed, and I'm not going to name any networks, is that you start a campaign. Boom! It's going out the gate. Things are going great. Everything's la-di-da. You know, you're lying on the beach. You got the tequila. Everything's going great, right? And then you go home. You sleep like a baby. And then the next day, same thing. You're lying on the beach. But this time, you come home and you check your stats. And it's not like 100 leads like it was the day before. It's like 10 leads. Now you've lost money and you're wondering what's happened, right? You call the affiliate manager. What's going on? What happened? I don't know. Well, that's probably the answer I expected from you. I don't know, right? I'll find out from the advertiser and find out, right? And for some reason, they never ever tell you what has happened. Don't know. Just not converting as well. Okay. So what do you mean it's not converting well? There's two terms in the affiliate industry. It's called scrubbing and it's called shaving. The networks shave, the advertisers scrub, basically. That's how it works. For many of you who don't know, all these platforms like Direct Track and Links Trust, they all have this feature where you can set a % of how many leads you want to shave, believe it or not. So for example, let's say for a particular offer, like a credit card offer or something like that, they might put 10% shave leads right across the board, 10%. And if I'm not mistaken, you can also set this on an individual level, okay? And this happens right across the board. It happens all the time. The other problem, and this is what I'm going to talk about when I start talking about, and remind me to talk about that, doing your own platform. I kept going after one network and saying something does not seem right with the EPCs. And they came back and they said, yeah, for some reason, the pixel's not firing on 100% of the time. Okay, it's not firing 100% of the time. But that's okay, because we'll credit you with any overages or any leads that we see on the advertiser's back end. We'll re-import it back in. And this shenanigans went on for 2 months. And finally, I said, I've had enough. I mean, why is it every day I have to call you and tell you guys to put in the overages? And sometimes when you're pushing 100 leads, if the overage is 20, that's 20%. And that could be your entire margin. So that's why, I mean, shaving happens. It's a dirty business. Scrubbing, that's when the advertiser, believe it or not, there are some really bad advertisers. You know what they'll do? You say you have your landing page, right? Then they have everybody's pixels from all the networks firing off on the landing pages. What they will sometimes do, for every 10th landing page, they will put it in their own landing page with no pixels firing. So effectively, they've shut the networks down 10% right across the board. And usually when they do that right across the board, the networks don't pick it up because it's being affected by all the networks. So the affiliates aren't coming back saying, okay, well, why is my EPC different than this? Generally, the EPCs are going to stay the same. The networks don't know what's going on. Do you see what I mean? In this business, it's not regulated. There's nobody, no big brother watching or anything like that, which would be nice sometimes. So, I mean, it is what it is, and that's why I generally recommend working on a 50% gross margin so you have that leeway. I mean, some of you guys might be a little bit risky and want to do a 20% margin just to get more volume. But my God, if you get screwed, you get screwed. You get screwed bad.
One thing that brings up, too, is that we don't have control. And so long term, we should put it as a goal for ourselves to have control.
Well, that's
have
what...
our own offers.
Go back to the workhorse method. The workhorse method. You capture the email.
Yeah.
You capture the email. And you don't necessarily have to set up CPA offers. You can start promoting ClickBank offers. Like if you guys all saw the diaper example in 1.0, right? Take that diaper example. Don't pitch them with CPA offers. And like, I'm not going to get into the workhorse method, but now here's the problem. You know, there's some other courses that are teaching some things that are similar to the workhorse method, okay? Here's the thing they're not telling you, okay? We all know with the email and the zip submit what happens once the email is put in, okay? It's the road to hell. And there's, no, honestly, let's be honest here. There's no turning back. Once you submit that email, once you submit that email address for that diaper offer, it doesn't matter if the baby's crying. Your email's still going to be going ping, 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 with all the spam that's going to come in. Okay, let's be honest here. For us, it happens, okay?
I just need a very evil card.
Let's hear it.
I'm kind of a nice guy normally, but I have a landlord that didn't pay me my security deposit back. So I sold all his data to like 200 advertisers. And I'm making the money back that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Such a bad guy, man. Such a bad.
That's fine. But again, that brings up the quality of offer thing. That one of the things I'm trying to avoid is getting a campaign going, getting all excited, and oh, thousands of dollars a day are coming in. You could do that with email submits, but you'll have to do it again, and again, and again, and again. Yeah, and I'm starting to think about the karmic effect of this and like what it's doing. Like, would you send your mom to that page? Like, how do you feel about that? You know, there's so much more to marketing than just making a buck. I think there's other people out there solving people's problems using these techniques, and then there's some people just selling traffic. I think the way we look at it makes a big difference.
Here, I want to add something too. I wanted to add something about scrubbing. There is actually, because scrubbing is, you know, this big dirty word, and everybody says, oh, scrubbing is bad, scrubbing is wrong, scrubbing is evil. There actually is a very legitimate reason. Because, I mean, you might ask yourself, like, why on earth would a network software like DirectTrack have the ability to just scrub people a certain percentage? Like, why would they even put that feature in there unless it's deliberately to scam, you know, your poor affiliates? Well, there is a perfectly legitimate reason. The reason is that advertisers are basically doing the same thing we're doing in terms of tracking their stats. Okay, for us, it's keywords. We look at our keywords and which keywords are performing, which keywords aren't, and we shut off the keywords that aren't performing. Advertisers are basically doing the exact same thing, only instead of keywords, they're looking at numbers that represent affiliates. Of course, that email address is not even real. Of course, it's not going to back out for the advertiser. If they already paid you, the affiliate, they can't in real time filter that out. They're just not set up to be able to do that. It's technically possible, but they're not set up to do that. So what they do instead is they just over time say, well, about 15% of this person's leads come in with junk data that we can't use. So we set a 15% scrub, and now it all works out. Everything is perfect. That's actually perfectly reasonable. What kills me is they don't tell us, the affiliates, this. If they let us know that there was this 15% margin failure rate for our traffic, okay, I can adjust for that. I can accommodate for that and try to work with it. But they don't tell us. So scrubbing is not inherently this horrible, evil, dirty practice. There is a very perfectly real, legitimate reason to do it. It's just there's no communication. But sometimes you can go, if you have a really good manager at your networks, you can go to your manager and ask them and say, look, am I being scrubbed? Can you tell me by how much? And sometimes you might be able to find out. I even had a case recently with GetAds, in fact, the guys are here, where I ran an offer and it worked great for me, but it wasn't backing out on the back end. And so I actually said, look, can you go to your advertiser and tell them I would be happy to have them scrub me. Tell me how much they need to scrub by, and then I can work it out on my numbers to see if I can still run the offer just at a lower margin. It ended up it wasn't going to work out no matter what, so I said, okay, sorry, I can't run it anymore. But you know, I'd be fine with an advertiser scrubbing me as long as they tell me what the scrub amount is. I can work with it. So keep that in mind. Oh.
You know, to add to that as well, it's interesting because I think Goer's obviously a very ethical guy, and there's a lot of guys here that are pretty ethical and moral. But you know, I've got a hold of some courses out there, and I don't do this, but you know, the black hat of CPA. I mean, there as many people that try to do it the right way. There's always people that are trying to scam the system as well. You know, black hat and how to do garbage leads and this and that. And it's like, you know, in my background being that I own an agency, I understand from an advertiser's perspective, it's like this money doesn't just fall out of the air. So everybody that thinks, oh, they're just making all this money and this, I mean, ultimately, there's a price to be paid for it. So if you're going to try to scam the system, you know, it'll be a short-term fix, but eventually they'll boot you off the networks or anything else. So.
Thanks, guys. Good points. One of the things that, just speaking what Ted talked about, there was a guy who posted in the Warrior Forum on how to scam the networks on email and zip submits. He said to put up like a page that says Jessica Alba sex tapes, and then I framed just the email submit part of an email offer.
To get the tape.
So everybody who was submitting an email would be thinking that they're going to be getting a Jessica Alba sex tape. And he wrote in the forums, and he said, do this, but spread it right across all the networks. So you do like 10, 15 on... It was interesting. He started his post, I don't do this anymore, but, gee, I wonder why. Probably been caught. These are the guys that us as CPA marketers are up against, okay? These are the guys who screw the advertisers, and the advertisers come back and they screw everybody, okay? And I wrote back in the forums, I go, this has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It's guys like you who wreck it for everybody else, okay? Sooner or later, it's going to come back to them, okay? And most people don't know that Direct Track has a feature right across 200-300 platforms. As soon as an affiliate is blacklisted, every Direct Track owner is informed of the name and who it is. So would you really want to risk that, considering 90% of the CPA networks are running on Direct Track? But like Ted said, there's this whole black hat side on trying to rip off the advertisers, and then there's this whole legitimate side, guys like us, who are trying to build CPA businesses. But going back to the workhorse method, one of the things that people don't tell you when they're talking about grabbing an email using CPA zip submits, I told you, like it's the road to hell once you get into one of these co-reg paths or whatever, right? And you got to think about it. Now you're trying to build an email list off of people that you've put onto another email list. So it's not going to be la-di-da, rosy, that all of a sudden when you start sending out CPA offers and subsequent emails, they're going to come back and say, my God, I love you. I filled it out in 10 seconds. Okay? What I initially realized when I went through the process, I got a backlash. Because as soon as I started this diaper list, I started promoting CPA diapers on the back end. And I got people coming back to me saying, oh, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Now my email's getting this email, this email, this email, this email. And that's why I changed my strategy. Almost always now when I'm building up a list, I don't promote CPA offers on the back end. I promote ClickBank offers. I promote selling cribs on Commission Junction, selling baby products and stuff like that.
Amazon stuff.
And if you remember from Pay-Per-Click Formula 1.0, I told you your initial message should be that hero message, saying that you might be presented with offers where you're supposed to put your name. Please, please, please read the terms and conditions first. Now you look like a hero. You don't look like the bad guy anymore. Okay? So then you can continue to promote. And I still have huge lists that I've built in a variety of different markets. I have 70,000 people on the list. I'll still email to in one day, and I'll make 800, 900 bucks just on one drop on free traffic. And that goes back to what you were saying, Dan, about markets that are always going to be there. Dating has been around for 5 years. It's not going to change.
It's been around a little longer than 5 years.
Well, on internet. Well, yeah. Yeah.
People have been hooking up for 30,000 years.
No kidding. 30,000 years ago, it was just like with the club, boom, and then drag the woman by the hair. Wasn't really called dating. Yeah.
Well, there are sites for people like that.
I'm sure there are. Is there any CPA offers for that?
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
I think Raj